This is the second part, or the last part rather, of stage one now. The first part, as you recall, was when we looked at the setting up of all the RC equipment. What we need to do now is put the custom horns on the top of the two servos. The first one to be done in here is a steering servo, so I'll put the gear one to a side. The servos on Tamiya don't have a standard sort of plastic horn on them, they have a custom horn, and they supplied the parts. There's the parts. The black parts there are the ones for the steering servo, which I'm about to do, and these light grey ones are for the gear servo. So I'm just going to take these bits out of here now. There are 4 different screws listed by Tamiya for each servo. That's because the hole in here can vary depending on whose make of servo you've got. This particular one, this E-tronic one, this metal gear one, has a 3mm standard threaded hole in there, and it's a 10mm screw that we're going to be using. Now there are 2 different horns to fit here, again depending on whose make it is that you've got. The one I've got here is the Futaba one, which fits quite nicely. Now I want to have a look and just see where it should be mounted, and according to the diagram it should be mounted with that. Well, you can see that, the nib part facing down like so. We then have to fit on the Servo Saver, which is a piece of spring plastic which just pushes on quite hard, and that's designed to snap if the servo locks up or it goes outside of its general range and can't move any further. It'll snap that instead. This part of the horn requires a ball joint which has already been fitted. That only locks into one place, which is there. There is a small washer that goes in there, or distance piece, and then the last piece we put on there will be the screw. Just going to do that up now. This doesn't need to have thread lock or anything like that, not like the ball. And just pinch it up tight, that's it, nothing more than that. Just check that against the diagram. There we go, that's that one done. We've now got the shift servo, which uses these cream coloured parts. I'm not sure which of the 2 horns, come here, fits properly. That one doesn't seem to fit, so that's probably the wrong one. Whoops-a-daisy, throwing things on the floor. It's all alive. Let's put that back. I don't know which one it was I just used, so we'll try this one now. That one fits a treat. Now this one has to line up with the nib part facing this way, so I'll try not to throw it on the floor this time. There we go, that fits on there like that. Again, we put the Servo Saver on, which you just press on there like so. Here's the top part with the what is a smaller ball joint in it, held on at the back with a little nut and a little bit of locking fluid. Notice it's got 6 holes in there, and it's the one in the top middle one as per the diagram down here. There's that nib, so it only goes on in one place like that. We then put the spacer washer in. Now this one requires a 2.6mm diameter screw, not a 3mm. 3mm won't fit this. And being plastic, you could use either a self-tapper or a standard threaded screw. I'm using a standard threaded screw. It really doesn't matter which one you use. As you can see, it screws in there without any problem at all. Just take it down until you get resistance, which is there, and that is job done. This is stage 2, where we fit the brackets on the 2 servos. all the parts that we need for it I've already taken out. Here they are, and all the screws that we need are in there as well. We're going to start with the steering servo, which is this one here, and it needs to have, just get rid of that, it needs to have that bracket and those two pieces of plastic. Now the one screw on the inside there is different to the others, doesn't have a shoulder on it, that's that one, and that goes in that hole there and screws onto one of these. Now note that this particular item has got a hole in one side and not the other, and could be fitted either way. Got to get it the right way around, which is that way there, and screw them together. A bit stiff sometimes putting 3 mils. Perhaps I needed to have an extra Weetabix today. There we go, that's in there. Well, it's a little bit twisted, which I'm not happy about. That should have put it straight. That's better. The other side is an MA14, which is a 3x10 with a flange on it. That's because it moves in the slot for different servos, where there's slight differences in their physical size. Hold this one together, make sure we got that correct in the right place, which we have. Sometimes I put a little bit of grease on self-tappers because it allows them to go in a little bit easier. That wants to just twist back a fraction as well, like that. Half a turn so we can see it moves. Let's get this right way around now, as per the diagram. Goes in like that with the bracket underneath the servo, not above it, underneath the servo. And there's movement on that side there with that flexible one. So let's get started on this side, which just needs another couple of these MA14s. One in the outside of there. In a lot of cases with these things you're better off not tightening them up until you've got them all in. It can make life a lot easier sometimes. There we go. Right, that one I'm going to, both of them I'm going to push against the sides of the servo because I want them to pull up flush and parallel with the sides of the servos. Like so. You can see that they've pulled up flush and parallel with the sides of the servos. What I'm going to do now, that one's tight, is just do up this one here. There we go. And that's the steering servo done. That mounts to the chassis and the servo works off here. That's that one done. Different kind of bracket for the gear one, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. This bracket again is adjustable as a screw goes in there and in an elongated slot to allow for different widths of these things. It will be necessary to turn the horn from your pre-finished position over there because you need to be able to put a screw in there. So I'm just going to pop a screw into that side first, which is going to be, there's 2 goes in this side actually, so let's just do one of them. There's the hole. Let's do the second one now. This goes in there. I'm not doing any of them up at the moment. this piece here goes on that way up. If you're never sure, have a look at the diagrams. To me, diagrams are very, very good. Just get that in that hole there, which is where we want it. Just pull that one all the way down and then just back it off a touch just to allow it to slide. And now we put 2 screws in this side. So, one in there. And one in there. Just find where the hole is. There we go. Now, again, make sure they're flush before you pull them up. And last but not least will be the adjustable screw. And I believe that's correctly done. Always check it against your diagram afterwards to make sure you've done it right. There we go. That's stage 2 completed. This is stage 3, the chassis frame, and we start by fitting some parts ready for the springs. Chassis frame right. That one's, well, you can see that's got an L on it for left. So this is the right hand one. It's important to get them the correct way around. And there's a clue there is that little cutout in this one. Yeah, you'd only go fitting a load of these parts and then find out you've got them all done the wrong way around. So let's start at the far end. EE7. I have all my parts here that I need. I've already been through this list and looked through the diagram for all the plastic parts that I need. So there's the EE7 that I need, and I need 2 MA9s, which are very long screws, which is those 2 there. They are long, aren't they? Tell you what, I'm inclined to just put just a little bit of, only a small bit in there, of grease. It just makes life a lot easier when you try and screw these things in. So you're going to try and work out where they're going now, so be careful with these holes. After that, there are some that come down in a line, and then it's the 2 above, and just to the left of the right, got it. It's those 2, it goes that way around. So they go in this hole here, and this hole here, like so, and fit into there, like that. That's where that one's going. Why the screws have to be quite so long, I can imagine it's only for stability. It certainly wouldn't be to hold them firmly, because you could get away with a very small screw for that. Oops a daisy. Let's try again. So I put a little bit of grease on there, makes them much easier to screw in. And the other thing to do as well, I've said before as a tip, is to move your screw backwards and forwards a few times just to loosen the hole up. It's amazing what a difference that makes. When it goes tight like that, just loosen it backwards a couple of turns and then have another go, and it goes in a lot further the next time. Wow, how long are these screws? 20 millimeters, blimey, 3/4 of an inch long these beggars are. Nearly got it. That one's in. Would you, Adam, and leave it? It's better than a working it on the exercise bike, this is. There we go. And I can only imagine it's to just give that a bit of rigidity on there. Okay. That's to hold the switch in place, I suspect, for the boom control on the back, tipper control. Let's move down now. Next thing we want is an MA5, an X4, which is just a little thin plastic ring, an MA32, and then an X6, which is a fatter one. Can I say that? A wider one. As you can see, that makes up the necessary space for the spring there. Now there's a special washer that goes in next, an MA23, which hopefully you can see is quite unusually thick for a washer. That just spaces it off, or stands it off the bar a little bit. Now from here it comes down and it shows two holes. The left hand one of the two is the one we want. Make sure you get these right, because otherwise you'll be taking them out and putting them back again. More fingers and thumbs this afternoon. Right, that's in there, and that has a little lock nut on the back, so obviously we don't need any thread lock. That's the word I was looking for on this one. Just get that started in there as far as it will go. We're going to have to hold the inside. It's too close to the bottom to get that on because it's got a thick wall, so we're going to use the spanner that they provide us with just to hold it in place like so, whilst we just do up the screw. And that can be done up tight, and it still allows the spring hangers to move. Yep. That's good. That's that one done. Next thing we do is we put one of these brackets on using two MA6s, which are the little threaded screws. These will need some thread lock. So what we do is we just identify the two holes where they're going in, which are these two holes here, which are also threaded, starting to come through, just bubbling at the moment. There we go, just a very slight amount of thread lock. You don't need loads. And make sure you put this on the right way up. We've got the cutout facing up, that goes on like that and faces up that way. So now we know. So we can do this lying down. There's one. Here comes number two. Oops, a daisy. A bit heavy handed there. We're in. I'm going to do them both up first before I pull them up tight. I want to keep that bracket straight because it can still move a little bit. There's one, there's two. Give that 15 minutes and the thread lock will hold them quite solid. Now we do the front spring hanger. You can see one hanger there. It'll come round to this one. That's going to have the shock absorber off there. So we want one of those. And we want one of those. We want two MA10s. Come here. Two MA10s, an X11, which is a plastic spacer, and that one to go on the inside. Note this piece has a hole in one side and not the other side. It goes with a hole towards the frame. I know it seems a bit fiddly, but I think it's always best to build it up and compare it to the diagram before you go screwing it together. As you can see, with those two pulled up, there's the gap for your spring to go through there. You then have this plastic piece on, which isn't handed, just goes on any old way. Because they're self-tappers, they don't need to have thread lock on them. Now, being right-handed, I'm going to turn this round. It's the two holes at the bottom down there. That's these two holes here, and it's going in with them downwards, like so. Yep, that with the hole facing inwards goes there. Get the first one started, get the second one started. Makes life a lot easier once you get them started. Whoops a daisy. Pull it down and pull it down. There we go, nice and square. Plastic piece on the inside. Check it against our diagram. There we go. Quite happy with that. Now this one, which is the left-sided one, again has that little cutout facing upwards, so we know we've got it the right way around. We'll start with the rear fitting, which is one of these, an X4 small bush, two of the spring hangers, one spacer in the middle, another spring hanger on the outside like that, yep, and then the MA23 very small little special washer to just space them off the chassis rail just a little bit. Where does it go? Let's check these through. There is a hole there, then one there, then one down there, then one there. That's where it goes, in that one there. Between the two that face it. That's lovely. That's exactly where we want it to go. This one has a MA23, the little locking nut on the back. Again, the only way we can hold this is to do it like this. Pull it up tight, like so. There we go, facing downwards, letter L there. I'm going to put some thread lock on these two, where the letter L is. There's one bit. This tube lasts for ages because you literally are just putting a minute amount on each time. You need the two 3x6s. This goes on facing upwards, so it's going on here like this. So we put this back into this hole here. We just find the hole. Which just eludes me. There we go. Get the screws done first. You'll note I hold my finger against the screwdriver because my hands do have a little bit of a shake on them today. Obviously did a bit too many press-ups at 7 o'clock this morning. That's that one, and we're now left with the front spring hanger. And again, if you've done it properly, this will be the balance of your parts, which are these. So we start with the 2 screws. We have this on the outside, like so. One of these on the inside. You know you've got it the right way around because you'll have the gap through the middle for the spring to go into. You then put the washer piece on there. They go in those 2 holes there, and this will go on the back with a hole facing the back. This one's already the right way around for my right-handedness. Just get one in first, get them started, and then you laugh it. That's one in. Get on me, beauty. Done up tight. That's not square, it's slightly off. So it's worth noting that sometimes. Just undo your screws slightly. Get your bracket exactly where you want it. In this case like that. And do it up in that position. There you go. That's nice and straight. So now we have our 2 chassis rails done. That's section 3 complete. This is stage 4. It's just building one of the cross members that goes between the chassis frames, chassis rails. I've got all the parts I need here. Start by just putting this together, which is quite simple. It's just literally 2 halves that go together, and they can go together either way around. They're not handed at all. They need to be put together like that, and then they have 4 screws down the middle. So let's get going with the pumping iron. Put 4 screws in here. That's one in. That's 2 in. That's 3. And 4. Once we've got them all in, we can start pulling it up because we know they're all aligned with the holes. Tight. I like to do things diagonally. Back to my days of doing engines, I think. 3. 4. There we go. That's that complete and done. We now need to knock up some frame brackets. There are in fact another 4 per side on the vehicle of these, but this early on in the build they just ask you to build 2 of them, and the main thing to do with these is to make sure that they are done on a flat surface, because you could end up with them like that or twisted maybe. They must be aligned flat on a flat surface to do up. They go together with a 3mm hex screw, and I haven't got my 2.5mm Allen key out. That's the one I want. Just put that back. These need to have thread lock on the other side because they've just got flange nuts on them. They're not lock-in nuts. It doesn't matter which way around you put the screws through for the purposes of building them. When you fit them on the vehicle, you will have to put them one way up or the other. Now, 2 washers on the screw first, just to stop it pulling through the plastic. Pop it through the hole there. It's a bit fiddly. And then on the other side, you've got to get on your flange nut. And I'm nearly there. Come on, me beauty. Do it for me. Yeah, there we go. Not the easiest of things to do up. And perhaps you've spotted my deliberate mistake. I forgot to put the thread lock on. Fortunately, the pins are long enough to allow me to just put a drop down through the middle of there. There we go. That's it. Whoopsie daisy. That's all we need on there. I'm going to need to hold the one side while we do the other side up. With these, I would, as I say, I would just bring them up gently to start with. Dear, dear, dear. Sorry you can't see this. I'm having to sort of do an octopus impression and hold all the parts. Right. Now that's almost tight, not quite. Best to get them tight first, like that, so you can realign it and make sure you get it exactly where you want it before you do it up. Okay. Don't have to be massively tight, just make sure that they're in line with each other. There we go, nice and smooth, nice and smooth. If they're not nice and smooth, or they're slightly out in any way, undo and readjust them. But they've got to fit on a flat face, that's why they need to be accurately aligned. That's the words. Let's put a couple of washers on. There we go. So it doesn't matter which way around you do them. Put it through there. I'm going to do the same as I did last time. I know I need to put some thread lock on, but I'm going to put the screw on first. Save getting the thread lock all over my fingers. Just rather sticky stuff. Come on, me beauty. In you go. Once it starts, we're laughing. There we go. A little bit of thread lock down there, which we have. Now I need to have a screwdriver, that won't do these up. Shorter end of that. Just pull it up first. There we go. They are just pinched up now. Just make sure that they're all aligned with each other, which you can do on a flat surface, as that one is now. And then try and hold it where it is while you just pinch up your okay. That's nice and smooth. Good. So that's all you need to do for stage 4.